Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Aces High, and today we're going to be continuing our six-part series from Kings and Generals on the successors of Alexander the Great. So I'm super excited. This is an awesome channel. If you guys haven't checked them out, go check out Kings and Generals. They are just seriously an awesome channel. They have a lot of great videos, and I just want to thank them for letting me use their video. That being said, we have already watched two parts. If you guys haven't checked them out, go check them out on my channel. And this is going to be the third part. It's titled The Battle of Gaza, as in, like, northeast Egypt, I'm assuming, the Gaza Strip, basically. And it takes place in the year 312 BC. Anyway, if you guys haven't subbed to my channel, hit that sub button. Help me out. Help me help you, I guess. And ring the bell. That way that you're notified when I get into all my other videos. I still got Russian history coming up. I have Caesar and the rise and fall of the Holy Roman Empire. I don't know. I have a big old notepad with all these things that people have requested. I'm just trying to fit them all in. I mean, the list is getting bigger and bigger. That being said, if you have a request, let me know. If somehow it slips through and I don't see it, bug me again, because I want to add it to the list, and if I can, I want to make it work, even if it's 2 months from now. Alright, well, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to shut up, and let's just get going.
This video is sponsored by Lumerit. Lumerit, a better way to do college. In 316 BC, on the plains of Gabene, one of the greatest rivalries in antiquity has ended in dramatic battle and betrayal. Victorious against Eumenes, Antigonus was now the most powerful man in Asia. Yet for him, this was just the start. For this aging general, being Lord of Asia was not enough. He wanted more. The wars of the Successors had only just begun. Having ordered the execution of his opponent, Antigonus now set about deciding the fate of Eumenes' army. Much of it was incorporated into his own force, with a few exceptions. Eudemus, who had come to aid Eumenes from India, was executed, as was the captain of the Silver Shields, Antigonus.
Wow. After those two, just killings, would he really think that the rest of the soldiers would want to serve him? I feel like they're going to end up killing him.
As for the Silver Shields themselves, Antigonus had no intention of enlisting them. They had already proven their disloyalty to Eumenes in the previous battle, and although excellent fighters, Antigonus did not trust them.
That's a good point.
They were sent to the harsh mountainous region of Arachosia, where they were subtly disposed of, fighting against hostile mountain tribes. Antigonus now headed back west, stamping his new mark on the Asian provinces. His former ally, Python, who had once been a bodyguard of Alexander the Great, was executed for planning a revolt, while Successors, who had deserted Eumenes at Gabene, was removed as the satrap of Persia and imprisoned. In the autumn of 316 BC, Antigonus reached Babylon, which was then controlled by a Macedonian governor named Seleucus. Another of Alexander's former commanders, Seleucus had been a leading instigator in the murder of Perdiccas and had aided Antigonus greatly in his war with Eumenes. Yet this friendship soon turned sour. A dispute erupted, and Seleucus, fearing a similar fate to Python, fled. Leaving almost everything behind except his horse, he headed to Ptolemy in Egypt, informing him of Antigonus's increasingly despotic behavior. Alarmed, Ptolemy reached out to his fellow governors, to Lysimachus in Thrace and Asander in Caria. Equally disturbed, they sent an envoy to Antigonus as he reached Syria. They claimed they had been invaluable allies in the war against Eumenes and demanded large swathes of land. They also demanded Seleucus and Successors be reinstated. Antigonus bluntly refused, and the war became inevitable.
Antigonus just wants everything at this point.
Antigonus now found himself opposed on multiple fronts, with his situation becoming even more challenging as he discovered that Cassander, the victor of a bloody civil war in Macedonia, had also joined the ranks of the opposing coalition. Determined to strike first, Antigonus led his armies south, taking over Phoenicia and many of the petty kingdoms of Cyprus from Ptolemy. Antigonus knew his fundamental weakness was in his lack of ships. Ptolemy...
I was just about to say, wouldn't it be better just to cut across for all these people instead of going all the way around? At that time, I mean, I understand ships aren't what they are today, but couldn't they cross the Mediterranean? Or was that really that big of a journey? And would it take longer than walking all the way around?
His undisputed naval control of the eastern Mediterranean would prove deadly if it wasn't contained.
Okay.
Antigonus ordered his newly acquired maritime Phoenician cities with the building of a great armada. At the same time, he dispatched several of his generals to fight enemies on other key battlegrounds. He sent his nephew, Ptolemaeus, to fight against Cassander in Asia Minor, and Aristodemus to Greece, to aid Polyperchon's remaining forces against Cassander. As for Antigonus himself, he pressed south through the Levant, capturing the cities of Gaza and Joppa from Ptolemy. Fresh from this success, Antigonus fortified the two captured cities and returned to Tyre in Phoenicia, which had been resisting defiantly with the aid of Ptolemy's navy. Yet by then, a large portion of Antigonus's new fleet was ready. Under the command of Dioscurides, Antigonus dispatched his ships to the Aegean, intending to gain naval domination.
Look how interesting this is. So I understand Tyre is holding up, but look at this island. I want to know the story of what happened here. That a portion of the island is still controlled here, even though it's on the far side, completely surrounded.
Antigonus remained near Tyre until its eventual capitulation in the summer of 314 BC. And news now reached him of events in Asia Minor. His nephew Ptolemaeus had fought a very successful campaign in Caria against the forces of Cassander. Further good news was to follow, as he learnt that his navy now dominated the Aegean. Antigonus sensed a great opportunity. This was the time to crush Cassander, Assander, and the rest of his rivals for good. In the summer of 314 BC, his son Demetrius, who had been by his father's side ever since the death of Alexander, was left to defend the Antigonid holdings in the Levant with a substantial force, while Antigonus started moving the main army north, across the Taurus Mountains. The young Demetrius was now in charge of protecting his family's new-won lands in the Levant from an increasingly active Ptolemy.
Just based off the title of this video, the Battle of Gaza, I'm assuming Ptolemy realizes this and he goes in for a strike. I just wonder if he kills, was it Demetrius, in the process.
Yet Antigonus did not leave him completely unaided. The revered admiral of Alexander, Nearchus, and a capable commander, Python, the son of Agenor, were left with him, along with a force of 18,000 men and 43 elephants. Demetrius remained in Celesyria, awaiting news of any aggression by Ptolemy that was sure to come. In 313 BC, Ptolemy made his move. Crossing from Cyprus, he raided the coastline of Cilicia with a small force. Demetrius, having been expecting an attack from Egypt, was caught completely off guard. He quickly force-marched his lighter forces north to Cilicia. Yet before he could arrive, Ptolemy had already departed, sailing back to Egypt.
So he striked and ran.
Having returned to
Look at that great lighthouse, man. isn't that no? I guess the Great Library of Alexandria. I was thinking the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Is that a thing too? That might be a thing. Wow, now I feel like an idiot.
Egypt, Ptolemy was now encouraged by Seleucus to reconquer Syria. Knowing Antigonus was far away in Asia Minor, Ptolemy was easily persuaded, and he gathered a large army consisting of Macedonians, Egyptians, and various mercenaries. In the early spring of 312 BC, Ptolemy led his army out of Egypt towards Gaza. There, Demetrius was waiting for him. Ignoring the advice of his counselors to avoid open battle against Seleucus and Ptolemy, two of the greatest generals of the time, the young Demetrius was determined to protect his father's territory. On a large plain, somewhere between the city of Gaza and the Bezor River, the forces would clash. Demetrius's army was smaller than that of Ptolemy's, with the young Antigonid having 18,000 men, compared to Ptolemy's 22,000. Yet Demetrius remained undeterred and deployed his forces for battle. On his left wing, Demetrius deployed almost 3,000 of his strongest cavalry, along with himself and his advance.
That's interesting. I thought maybe they said that was a Macedonian thing, but I thought that at least in Macedonia you put yourself on the right wing for honor, right? Not the left wing. But maybe that's not like an entire like Greek thing.
Among these horsemen were 800 of the elite Macedonian companion cavalry and 100 specialized Tarentines, the lightly armed horsemen with javelins and swift mounts. In front of his left wing, Demetrius deployed 30 elephants, with 1,500 light infantry armed with javelins and bows, interspaced between the beasts. In his center, Demetrius deployed his phalanx, 11,000 men strong. 2,000 of them were Macedonians, with the rest being mainly mercenaries. He placed his 13 remaining elephants in front. The remainder of his army, some 1,500 cavalry, were positioned on his right wing.
So he's got a weak right wing.
As for Ptolemy and Seleucus, they initially placed their strongest cavalry on their left wing. Yet seeing Demetrius's deployment, the two veteran commanders quickly reorganized, placing themselves and 3,000 of their strongest cavalry on their right, directly opposing Demetrius. In front of them, Ptolemy placed his engineers, armed with large metal spikes, designed specially to counter any elephant charge. These they placed at regular intervals, upright in the ground in front of Ptolemy's left wing. Light-armed javelin men and archers were also stationed behind these traps. In the center, Ptolemy deployed his 18,000 infantry, including Macedonians, mercenaries, and Egyptians, with his remaining 1,000 cavalry on his left. The battle commenced with a cavalry charge on the extreme left of Demetrius's wing. At first, Demetrius's cavalry managed to get the better of their opponents and caused Ptolemy's horsemen to retreat. Yet quickly adapting their strategy, Ptolemy and Seleucus then led the remaining cavalry on their right wing into battle, riding around Demetrius's left flank and charging in with their spears.
God, it really just seemed like, sure, there was some strategy to it, but a lot of the battles back in the day were just whoever had the biggest army, you know? And who would charge first, and then can you circle them, and yeah.
The cavalry battle lasted a long time, and many distinguished figures fell on either side, most notably Demetrius's advisor, Python. Yet neither side was able to gain an advantage. Finally, Demetrius ordered his elephants forward, hoping to panic Ptolemy's infantry and win the battle. It was not to be. As these tanks of ancient warfare advanced towards Ptolemy's right, they came under a hail of javelins and arrows from Ptolemy's light infantry. Under fire, many of their handlers now desperately charged their beasts forwards, right into
the, he was about to say, I'm assuming, the engineering thing. Sorry to pause it right there. Kind of a weird spot. But I had a question. Uh, Obviously, bowmen, not very strong bows, not very accurate, but throwing their javelins and everything. Do you have somebody that's just carrying more javelins with you, or how many do you carry? Because I mean, like a bow, you carry a bunch of arrows with you. A javelin, though, like, do you carry 10 with you into battle, or is it groups of two and one guy's the guy that carries it, one guy's the thrower? Like, if you guys know, let me know that.
Into the sharp spikes Ptolemy's engineers had deployed. Carnage ensued. The handlers were shot down, and almost all the elephants were either captured or killed.
Wow.
Seeing the death of the elephants, Demetrius's army panicked. Various units of his cavalry now peeled off and began to flee towards Gaza. Demetrius's attempts to rally his forces proved in vain. Reluctantly, he was forced to order his army to commence an ordered retreat. Yet his infantry phalanx, which had never even engaged the enemy, had different ideas. Many threw down their arms, abandoning their formations and any remaining order they had, becoming easy prey for Ptolemy and Seleucus's victorious army. In one move, over 8,000 of Demetrius's infantry was taken prisoner by Ptolemy. The
Wow.
Antigonid army had suffered a crushing defeat.
But one thing to point out is when Antigonus left, God, I can't think of his kid's name, Demetrius, when he left his son there, he took most of his army with him. So he can still come back and kick ass. But he has to defeat the people up north first, I guess.
Gaza fell to Ptolemy's forces soon after the battle. Demetrius had been humiliated. With the remnants of his army, he withdrew into Phoenicia, while Ptolemy would march further into the Levant, as far as Tyre. Thanks to the defeat at Gaza, the fortune of the Antigonids appeared to have turned, and their demise seemed close. We often say that we want our
Alright, that's an ad. Let's go ahead and have a chat, you guys. It's interesting. I mean, you could see it coming based off the name. As soon as he left his son Demetrius there, I knew there was going to be a battle between them. I thought, like, I was guessing Demetrius would have died, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited to see who really wins out in the end, because you're getting just weaker and weaker and more broken up of what used to be this great empire that Alexander the Great had formed, you know? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. There are 3 more, and then we'll be moving on to another series. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do Russian history, or if I'm going to do like Julius Caesar and the Holy Roman Empire, but we'll see, you know? Anyway, till next time, this is Aces High, and I'm out.